The Antifa member who shot the Trump supporter dead in the streets of Portland, Aaron J. Danielson, has just been shot dead himself. This just happened. We just went over this on my D-Live stream. You can follow me on dlive.tv/VincentJames to get notified for when I am live. And this is something that Donald Trump just tweeted out a little while ago. He said, "Why aren't the Portland police arresting the cold-blooded killer of Aaron J. Danielson? Do your job and do it fast." Everybody knows who this thug is. No wonder Portland is going to hell, and he tagged the Justice Department and the FBI. Now, little did he know that 40 minutes or so prior to him sending out this tweet that this guy was shot dead by the police. They were moving in to make an arrest. Now, why were they moving in to make an arrest now? Well, some people suggest that it was the Vice documentary that was just posted, or at least the trailer to the Vice documentary that was just posted, in which he basically confessed to the shooting. And what he said during this Vice documentary was that lawyers told him not to talk to the media, that lawyers told him not to do this interview. Well, he should have listened to those lawyers because the police, I'm assuming, used this interview in which he basically confessed to the shooting. And so the police had more than enough information to move in to make the arrest against this guy, which inevitably led to a shootout. We're going to go over that next with police, and police killed this man. So here's what he said during the Vice documentary here, where he said that lawyers said he shouldn't show up.
Sat there and watched them kill a friend of mine of color. But I wasn't going to do that. You know, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had no choice. I mean, I had a choice. I could have sat there and watched them kill a friend of mine of color. But I wasn't going to do that. You know, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. My name is Michael Forrest Rynell, born and raised Portland, Oregon, 48 years old. You know, lots of lawyers suggest that I shouldn't even be saying anything, but I feel it's important that the world at least gets a little bit of what's really going on, because there's been a lot of propaganda put out there.
So there you go. So right there, he basically confessed to what he did. He confessed to the shooting. He said it was justified later on in the interview, and a lot of people are suggesting that this is what led the police to make this arrest. And it's very unfortunate because I did just post a video about this. We clipped from the live stream earlier where we talked about this. We were asking, why wasn't he getting arrested? You know, why wasn't this man being arrested? If Kyle Rittenhouse can get arrested and charged with murder, even though both of the videos clearly show that he was acting in self-defense, why isn't this guy being arrested? Now, we understand there's different DAs in different states and different, cities and different laws and things like this, but there's really no evidence out there that actually suggests there's something else, some other piece of information that we need to see that leads us to believe that this could have potentially been an act of self-defense. Because when you watch the video of the shooting, I mean, this guy was 4 to 6 feet, maybe even 8 feet away from the guy that he shot. The guy that he shot didn't have a gun. The guy that he shot didn't have a knife. Otherwise, this would have been revealed already. It's been days since the shooting. And so the question that I was asking was that, why wasn't he being arrested? And this was the same question that Trump was asking here. Why aren't the Portland police arresting the cold-blooded killer, Aaron J. Danielson? And so we're going to get into what exactly happened in the shootout, which is this report here from the Oregonian, the Olympian. It tells us exactly what happened in the police shooting. Before we do, though, I just want to remind you to check out dlive.tv/VincentJames. This is where we are live streaming every day, except for weekends, Monday through Friday, about 2 p.m. Pacific time. Go and follow over there and get notified for when I am live. And all of the full-length live streams are posted to Subscribestar and Patreon. At the middle tier here on Patreon and the middle tier here on Subscribestar, you can get access to all of the full-length live streams every single day, and also all of the exclusive content that I post over on Subscribestar and Patreon. The show relies on you now that we don't have YouTube anymore. And I'm thinking about probably tonight or tomorrow night, I'm going to post some of the old protest riot footage from, like the Battle of Berkeley and a couple of other things, maybe the protest of the white privilege seminar in Santa Monica. Maybe I'll post a video from that for Subscribestar and Patreon members. But let's get to this Olympian article. So here's basically what it says. It says that They were in the area looking for a wanted homicide suspect, which was this guy, when they saw the suspect come out of an apartment, and they said that he appeared to be armed. The man made it inside a vehicle at the apartment complex when shots were fired. Brady confirmed that 4 officers fired their weapons. The officers were from the Department of Corrections, Pierce County Sheriff's Office, and Lakewood Police. The suspect fled from the car on foot. Officers said he produced a firearm, and officers fired. According to Brady, the man was declared dead at the scene. Chad Smith and Chase Cutler, friends who were working on cars nearby, said an unmarked SUV has been parked on a school street for a while when that SUV and another converged on a man in a vehicle in the apartment complex. They moved onto a grassy area about 50 yards away to watch what was happening. The man got out of his vehicle and began to fire what they believe was an assault rifle at the SUVs. They said that they heard around 40 or 50 shots, then officers returned fire, hitting the man. And so we have a video here, which was originally a Facebook post that gives us an idea of sort of what the scene looked like after this Antifa shooter was shot dead by the police. And it doesn't really give us a close-up view. There are a couple of pictures from the scene, but once again, they're not very close. You can't really 100% see his face or his facial features and make out that it was, in fact, him. But you can see a lot of the police around, some feds around there, and basically this was the scene that they recorded. I believe that this was originally a live stream on Facebook. Now, one of the weird things is that we were just talking about this on the stream, and we were pointing out the fact that the cameraman who filmed the shooting didn't even flinch. Like, he didn't even flinch when the shooting occurred, and it looked like he was actually following the guys who were going to commit the shooting. It looked like he was friends with them, and it looked like almost as if he knew something was going to happen. So at first, this video, and I posted this on Telegram, the cameraman, who is, I mean, you can tell by some of the things that he says during this live stream, you can tell that he's on the side of Antifa, you can tell that he's on the side of Black Lives Matter, and the shooter eventually crosses the street, and when he does cross the street, he points the camera at the ground in order to not dox the shooter, in order to not reveal the face of the shooter, and that happens right here. Then he moves on, then he turns around, the cameraman then turns around after he sees the shooter, and follows them down the street. And as he's following them down the street, he's commenting on like the boarded up buildings and the paintings in the boarded up buildings and so forth. Not sure if he's like intentionally turning the camera away there. And then he focuses right on where the shooting is about to happen. And that's right here. And so the reason why I say that there's really no evidence that this was potentially in self-defense was because the guy didn't have a gun. He didn't have a gun. And also, he didn't have a knife. I suppose according to reports, he had a mace, and he sprayed the mace, but he was very far apart from the Patriot Prayer member when he fired the shots. And you can see that as he comes here, he turns and fires the shots at him, and he's about 6 to 8 feet apart. Watch here. Turns, fires the shot. And he's fairly far away from this guy when he fires these shots here. So here's him. He's about, like I said, he's about 4 to 6 feet away. And you can judge that by just looking at the cars. Look at the length of the cars. So here's the length between those two as he fires those shots. And then he starts running away. Now, the cameraman doesn't flinch at all. I mean, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't say, holy shit. He doesn't run away. As you can see, some other people scattering down here. And then also towards the end, people are asking him to turn in the footage, and it seems like he's reluctant to turn in the footage here. And some people suggested. Play this here.
Hey, dude, if you got that on video, you need to fucking give it over.
And he does this a couple times when he suggests that he should turn in the video. The onlooker then eventually just goes and calls the police. And says that he has a video of this happening. He also asks the guy if they came from a car or did he see where they came from, and he said no. The cameraman said no, I didn't see where they came from. The guy just fled. The shooter just fled. So he was either like very flustered there, or he was high or drunk or something like this, or he was lying. He was intentionally lying about what he witnessed there. And it's just so odd to me because a lot of people were saying, well, he's going to get offed by the feds, or he's a fed, or this was a setup, or this was a psyop, or something like that. And honestly, I mean, these things that happen like this, they just feed right into that sort of theory, right? Because it is very strange. It is very strange. And why would he pull a rifle on the police? Was this a suicide by cop? Like, why would he pull a rifle on police and start shooting 50 rounds at them, like that article said? Is he just that dumb? I mean, just such a waste. I mean, this guy, he said he has a daughter. There was a video that showed him. He said it was his daughter. Like, what are you doing? I mean, you got that Black Lives Matter tattoo on your neck. Looks fairly new. Looks like at least since the death of George Floyd. It's sort of starting to turn green, but it still looks fairly new. You shoot a Trump supporter. Vice News creates this, like, fluff piece. And, you know, the guy that did the Vice News documentary, he was like an Antifa supporter. So, I mean, this sort of dispels the myth, or not the myth, this sort of dispels the theory or the thought that Vice News set him up intentionally, because this guy who did this documentary was an Antifa supporter. Andy Ngo had a couple of screenshots where he's like retweeting Antifa accounts. He's talking about helping to make Antifa more mainstream and more accepted in mainstream, more of like a mainstream acceptance as far as like Antifa is concerned. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe Vice News did intentionally try to get this guy to... How did they set up an interview? It's just so strange. It's just so strange to me. But anyway, that's what we have on that. The guy has been shot. The Antifa supporter, the Antifa member has been shot. The guy who shot the Trump supporter, press S to spit. I guess you can say press S to spit. My goal is to eventually become a powerhouse of truth. That is why it is imperative that you check the links in the description below and go to either Patreon and Subscribestar and support us for at least the cost of a cup of coffee a month. We already have writers writing for TheRedElephants.com, but we'd like to bring on more in the near future. By the way, at TheRedElephants.com, you can also find t-shirts, hats, and other products. Check the links in the description below. It helps us out tremendously.